Hello again. This is Maria Abreu from Abreu and Associates. Thank you for visiting the channel. And in this particular section, I wanted to talk about real estate transactions a little bit. I've mentioned in other videos, and I've always said this because it's true, that the favorite investment by foreigners is real estate. It's just what they go for. It's what they prefer. Now, when it comes down to real estate, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind when purchasing real estate. First of all, and I'm not being biased when I say this, folks, because you're going to understand in a bit why I say it. You always need to have an attorney representing you. Why? Because there's a due diligence that goes with a real estate transaction. For example, before you sign any paperwork, it's not just a matter of you looking at the price, looking at the design of the unit you want to buy or the land you want to buy, visiting it. No, 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 no. Real estate agents are not required to be licensed in this country. Okay? And although they know something, they have a wide, spectrum of knowledge, and although they understand a little bit about the law, they're not experts in that field of law. You understand? So there are pitfalls you need to avoid. How do you avoid these pitfalls? Due diligence. So you need an attorney that's going to check out this property for you. First of all, they need to check out that the title is clean. That the title is in fact, it names the person that you are buying from. It is very common for people to have the possession of a property, meaning they live in it, they administrate it, and they could even, rent it out or sell it, but they are not the title owners. So you want to make sure that the title to that property is in the name of the person you're buying it from. That's first of all. Second of all, you want to make sure that you know the legal status of that property. Is there a lien? Has there been any kind of judicial action taken? Has there been any kind of sentence affecting that property? Okay, so that's important. Has the property been properly surveyed? Is that survey in the registry office, or does it have to be done again? Okay, have there been any remodels to that property? Are the remodels up to code? Because if they're not, you're inheriting a problem that later on you are going to have to deal with. If you choose to buy it and deal with it, well, maybe we can negotiate the price, because now you're buying a property that's going to bring expenses in the future. Things of that nature, okay? Now, so you're going to need a lawyer, okay, before you sign anything. Have the permits been issued, for that project? Okay. You also want an attorney to do a due diligence on the actual developer. Have there been issues in the past? How has their performance been in other projects? What is the rate of satisfaction of people who have bought in their projects? I personally, when I come across a developer, I look at previous projects they've done. You did a project 2-3 years back. What's it looking like now? Has it held up? Do you work is your work quality? These are things that need to be looked at, okay? Another thing that is a problem, and I've noticed this very much, they'll want a foreigner to sign a promise of sale or a contract in Spanish, but you don't speak Spanish. You can't sign something you don't understand, even if you have legal representation. Folks, anything you sign has to be translated, because you have to know what you're signing. So you can't go by faith. Another thing I will say, promises of sale are usually in favor of the developer or of the seller. And I'll give you an example. I had a promise of sale agreement, comes over to me. Of course, not translated. They're calling the client every single day. When are you signing? When are you signing? When are you signing? Guy, I'm like, it's not in your language. What did you read? So he comes over, he hires us, and that's the first problem. Second problem is I picked out 4 clauses where it was all in favor of the developer. It even went as far as saying if we're 6 months late, issuing your property, we are not to be penalized. I would never agree to that. I would never agree to something like that. So the promises of sale have to be combed through to make sure that you are protected, okay? Because it's usually in favor of the seller or the developer, okay? Now, we're getting into, material. The promise of sale also has to, establish your conditions. Yeah, they want to establish theirs, but now you have to establish yours. If you're late, if there's a delay, then that means you're going to cut off the price or you're going to be penalized for XO amount. Oh, the other thing the due diligence has to include is the tax situation of that property. The Dominican IRS has to emit a certificate, a certification indicating that the taxes on that property are up to date, okay? So many things to consider, okay? Now, when it comes time to sending money to purchase a property, always best to send the money directly to the seller. By that time, there's a contract made out, okay? There's paperwork that has been signed. You have legal representation. So all of this, you send that to the seller and let the seller worry about clearing those funds with the bank. But usually for a bank to clear the funds that you send for the purchase of a property, you just have to present the contract. You also have to present paperwork indicating how you earn income because of anti-money laundering laws. So if you have a business, they want copies of your documents of incorporation. Or they want, most banks don't need that, but they at least want a wiring proof from the originating bank. So let's say you're wiring from JP Morgan Chase. You have to send a certification indicating that the funds went from JP Morgan Chase to whatever bank you wired to. But most of the time, the funds are wired directly to the seller. Call it an individual or a developer, okay? Now, the requirements post-pandemic have been, to purchase a property and send money. They've been relaxed a little bit. So even if you don't have residency in the country, you just have to send your passport, your social security, bank statements from your originating bank. Obviously, the contract showing that you're buying a property. Usually those documents will cover you, okay? So you will be able to send money with no issues whatsoever, okay? Here again, I never recommend that you make investments without having legal status in the country. It's common sense. Your investment is more protected if you have status. Not to mention that by the time you have to transfer the title, if you have, say, permanent residency through the fast track, you are going to get a tax exemption from the 3% tax required on the value of the property. So it's always better to do both. You want to buy property, start your residency on the spot, okay? You can do both at the same time or one before the other, all right? So it is always best to have an attorney because the process is intricate, okay? A lot of steps there. And you're not familiar with the laws and the tendencies of the country. So protect yourself, okay? Any questions, you can contact the firm direct and we'll be happy to answer them all. Until next time, you take care.